I've watched a couple of your interviews and read a couple of them before this fight week, and you keep using the phrase like you don't really care about wins and losses anymore right now in your career. So I guess just how's life been and how's camp been leading into this that's just been different from previous fights?
Yeah, it's been different for sure. Yeah, it's just been different, I guess. And no, I don't give a fuck about winning and losing. It doesn't matter. I just got some things I want to accomplish, and if I accomplish those things, I win. But just is what it is. You know, I'm just not super focused. It's not like I'm not going to try to win. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm just not focused on the wins and the losses, you know?
Did you feel like you were so focused on, winning this and getting to the next one in your, before this point and just something had to change before this? Or is this how you felt in the last few fights too?
No, it just depends on where I'm at personally. I think a lot of times people get obsessed with the wins and losses, and then you start protecting things when you're in there, and there's definitely been times where I've been focused on trying to just get a win that I end up trying not to lose. And I'm just done with that shit. I don't have that much longer left here, so I'm just gonna go in and have some fun.
You also use the phrase Dominic Reyes still matters to me when talking about wins and losses, and maybe your other wins, they were still wins, but you don't really reflect on those as much.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Vitor Petrino. Yeah. I'm not proud of that one. That's exactly what I was supposed to do to Vitor Petrino, and training for him was hard. He's an incredible athlete, and it's nothing against him personally. He's a great guy. I had great interactions with him and his team. When I'm old and retired, I'm not going to sit around a campfire telling my kids about the time I choked out Vitor Petrino. Dominic Reyes matters. That win matters to me.
He wrote on Instagram when this was announced that it's been a long time coming. So is there history between you two in terms of bad blood or anything, or is it just you were both ranked light heavyweights for so long that you've just been circling each other?
Yeah, I think that I don't know that I would say it's a long time coming. I think it's been talked about a few times, and the dates haven't worked out for the most part. I don't think I've ever been officially offered a Dominic Reyes fight until now. But I figured at some point it would happen.
And not everyone gets 4 losses in a row like Dom Reyes, especially ones that are, violent finishes and stuff like that. But do you even take anything away from those? Because a lot of people say he should have beaten John, and then maybe he overlooked Jan Blachowicz and overlooked Yuri, and then came in a different fighter, and he's still losing to the best of the best, that maybe he just lost confidence at one point. And just what do you make of that run Dom had to where he's at now?
Well, I think the title fight versus John Jones, I thought he was magical. I thought he did some really incredible things in that fight. I thought he won. I've always said that I thought Reyes won that fight. The Blachowicz thing, I think I worked that event, and I remember saying that he was kind of seeming like he was the uncrowned champion. I beat John Jones, of course I'm going to come in here and win. And Blachowicz he's an easy guy to overlook if you're not super focused on him and what he does well. So I kind of gave him a pass on that one. Yuri, kind of look what he's done. At the time, people gave him a lot of shit about that Yuri loss, but, Yuri's done some incredible things since then. And the way that Yuri fights is really tough. It's just really tough to deal with. And I think at times, Reyes has been a victim of his bad decision-making. I think the Yuri fight is one of those things where I think he could have he run that fight back 10 times. They probably go 5-5. I think they're really well matched, and it just, Yuri pushed and grinded and just put Reyes in a bad spot. And even the Span thing, if you kind of really go back and look at it, he's kind of a victim of circumstance. He did everything right and just got caught. The angle that he took when he was throwing his left hand when he initially got hurt was perfect. Span just threw so wild, he got his head off line and landed before Reyes did. That could have gone the other way really easily. So I don't really hold that against him too much, because that's a shitty thing about the sport. You can do everything right and still lose. And I think the Span fight is one of those fights where I think Dominic did everything right and lost.
So those are two different kind of things you said, where Yuri is a weird guy to fight, and he's a weird guy to kind of figure out, and it was a bad decision by Dom. Does the opposite. He did everything right against Ryan Spann, and he still kind of got caught. So is that just luck of the draw?
That's fucking MMA for you. That's MMA for you. That's just how it goes. And some guys, if you look at a good friend of mine, Jake Ellenberger, he had an incredible run, and sometimes some shit would just go crazy and haywire, and he'd end up on the right side.
Did he get his foot stuck in a cage?
Yeah, well, but even leading up to that, when he was getting close to a title fight, he'd be in these chaotic situations and things would just go his way. And then towards the end of his career, he's in a lot of those same scenarios and things didn't go his way. That's just how the game goes, It's just sometimes the chips fall and they just fall against you. And I think Reyes has been a victim of that a little bit.
So then when you break him down, hyper athletic, like he says, southpaw, like very accurate striker. Just did you have to bring in anyone different to prepare for this one, or is it just you've been doing this for so long, you've seen everything that you can just prepare?
I haven't worried too much about Reyes, the person, too much. So we just kind of just taken his skill set and put it on a faceless body, Jamal Hill's been with me in terms of nasty, accurate southpaws. I don't think you're going to find too many more. And then you add in the power of Jamal compared to what Reyes probably has. I would put Jamal's power and accuracy probably above anybody in the division, specifically a southpaw, but just in general. So I've spent a lot of time with Jamal. That's been nice.
How do you see that fight with him and Yuri playing out? Seems like that fight's actually been a long time coming.
Yuri is such a pain in the ass. He's just such a unique style and fights so free. But anybody that's as hittable as Yuri standing in front of Jamal is going to have a bad night. And that's just not because Jamal's my friend. The power that guy carries is different. His ability to find shots is different. And you're not going to have to work too hard to find Yuri's head.
And just last one for me, unrelated to your fight. Can I get your thoughts on the co-main event between Shavkat and Ian?
That's a good fight. I think people probably aren't giving Ian Gary as much credit as he deserves. I think sometimes just with some of the media backlash from the Neil Magny stuff and some of that, I think people aren't giving him maybe his due. I don't think you have to like him to be able to admit that the kid can fight. He's well trained. Going into the MVP fight, I thought he fought a really smart fight. I think that if Shavkat starts grappling and mixing in the clinch and kind of makes it more physical, I think he probably wins. But if Ian stands back and is safe and fights from the outside and plays his tricky games, I think he can definitely win this fight.
Actually, one more just because you've fought more than pretty much anyone on this card. There's been a lot of talk on the lineup, like how the fights are laid out, like Aljamain and Chris Weidman being on the prelims and Kron Gracie.
Only people with things that they like, only guys that don't have better things to think about.
So that's what I was going to ask. Does it matter at all?
I didn't even know where I was at until today. No idea. I had no idea. I didn't even know who was on the main card. I just have too much shit going on to worry about things that don't matter. My paycheck doesn't change. I get to get the same paycheck and then watch the rest of the card? Yeah, I'm good with that.
Anthony right here. Jamal Hill said you've been like a big brother to him since he came on the scene. As your career comes to a close and even afterwards, will one of your main goals be to help those upcoming guys become champions and become top-level fighters?
No, absolutely not. Jamal and I made an organic relationship that turned into a friendship. That was just an organic meeting. I seen a lot of myself in him when I was younger, and I seen his talent, and he's a good dude. The guys that are in my gym, that are close to me, that are like my brothers, of course, I'll do anything I can for those guys. But I'm not out searching for guys to take under my wing to help. I'm going to help the people that are close to me that I have love for. But I'm not out trying to be a mentor. You know what I mean? I just wish that people seen the side of Jamal that we see every day. It's the delusional Jamal jokes and he's passionate about his craft and he really cares. I think sometimes I'm media trained, so I know how to get a point to land on the audience that I'm trying to reach, and he's unconcerned with that. He just speaks from his heart, and I think that he knows he could have performed better in his fight, and so it comes off as excuse making, but it's just him speaking from his perspective. But that's not the guy that we see a week ago, Jamal was leaving his house doing PT and relaxing to drive across town to stand courtside and be the crazy black man cheering my kids on in basketball. You know what I mean? That's the side that people don't see. He's just a regular dude, and he's a good dude.
So your very good friend and coach, Scott Morren, passed away about 3 weeks ago. How much does fighting in his memory mean to you?
Not at all. Not at all. The smallest thing that Scott was to me was a coach. He's like my mentor, my big brother, and I've never lived as an adult without Scott guiding me through life. So this fighting shit is really fake at the end of the day. It's this big fucking dog and pony show. I don't really give a shit about any of that. Getting a win and having the opportunity to tell the world about him afterwards, standing there with Joe Rogan means a lot. Like that'll be cool for me. But in terms of anything else, it doesn't matter.
Anthony, first of all, I'm sorry for your loss. Another coach of yours, Mark Montoya, he's had your back for a long time. What's the most important non-fighting lesson that he's taught you?
I don't know. I get lots of lessons from those guys. I think, I don't know. There's a lot.
And you spent your 36th birthday with Luke Bryan. I wanted to ask, how was that, and what'd you guys do?
It was cool. Yeah, that was cool. Just went in the back and hung out. We had a couple beers and just chit-chatted. We had a good time. And then he went and did a show, and that was it. But yeah, Luke Bryan's cool.
Anthony over here. Obviously, you've been part of many great fights, many great events. Do you have any goals left inside the cage or maybe outside the cage? I know you're doing a great job with the UFC broadcast team. So maybe what are some of those goals you have left in the fight game, whether it's in the cage or maybe some endeavors that relate to the fight game?
Saturday, like I said, I didn't come here to win. I need to destroy something. That's why I'm here. It might be myself. Like maybe I run into a fucking buzzsaw and leave not the same way I came here, and I'm good with that too. I went to fight Alexander Gustafsson right after I fought John Jones, and I didn't go there to win either. I wanted to punch someone in the face because I felt so shitty about losing the title fight. Saturday, I want to fucking break something, and this is my outlet. I can't do what I really want to do inside anywhere else with no consequences. That's why I'm here. I don't give a fuck about winning at all. Not even a little bit. I haven't even fucking thought about it. I want to fucking break something, and here's where I get to do that.
Anthony right here. Of the guys on the roster, you're probably amongst the most prolific in terms of doing broadcast stuff with UFC, outside UFC. Just wondering, do you have like an eventual goal with broadcasting and being on camera?
Yeah, I want to continue to get paychecks without getting punched in the face for them. That's been super cool so far. And I don't know, just keep building it. And, at some point in time, one of those guys calling fights cage side is going to want to go do something else, so they're going to retire or whatever, and I'll be ready to step in when I get the opportunity. I'm not trying to take anyone's job. I love Chiesa and Alan Jouban, but I feel very uncomfortable, standing in front of people begging for an opportunity because I know that if I get one, I take one away from my friends. So I'll patiently wait my turn. But eventually I'd like to call fights and continue kind of doing what I'm doing. I love the analyst stuff. I love working the desk. If I could slide in a couple, live commentating gigs, that'd be cool. That'd be a nice way to retire.
Developing that voice and everything, people don't realize how much practice goes into it. Have you been given any advice that really helped you in terms of sounding the way you want to when you're on television?
So my boss here at the UFC, my boss at ESPN, it's Zach Candido and Glenn Jacobs, do a really good job of just helping me figure out who I am as an analyst. I think that's really what it comes down to, is figuring out what position do you play. I can't do what DC and Bisping do. They're great analysts, but they're also entertainers and they're promoters. They can do what I do, but they can also sell fights, and they can DC and Bisping can make you buy shit that you don't want. They're just very, very good at it. They're salesmen and they're legends, so they come in with built-in credibility. So they just do something that I can't do. I'm not the entertainer. I'm not the funny guy. I'm not I can't sell you something, but I can absolutely tell you if you're already going to buy it, why it's going to be important, and the things that are going to happen. So I had to figure out who I was as an analyst first and be okay with that. It's tough. When you're sitting at a desk with Bisping or DC, their personalities are so big. Sometimes you feel like you get lost a little bit, but you just have to be confident in who you are and what your role is in that situation. So they've done a really good job of helping me with that. And then a lot of it's just experience and, I don't know, just following along the conversation. I think sometimes, even as interviewers or whatever your job in media is, sometimes you have your questions you want to ask or things you want to talk about. So you ask it, you get the answer, and then you go to the next one. I've done a better job of listening for the response and then creating an organic conversation as it follows. And sometimes you don't get to the questions that you want, but you may have ended up with a better organic interaction with that person. So it's just a time thing.
For the record, we see that it's definitely paid off, man.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.